They say loss changes you. I never understood what that truly meant until the day I lost my mother. My name is Emily Carter, and I grew up in the quiet, tree-lined neighborhoods of Boise, Idaho. Life wasn't perfect, but my mother made sure it felt like it was. She was a school librarian, gentle, organized, and endlessly kind. My father passed away when I was 8, so for most of my life, it had just been the two of us. I learned how to be independent, responsible, and quiet, just like her. But nothing prepared me for the phone call that shattered everything. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when the hospital called. A drunk driver had veered off the road. She was on her way to pick up books for a reading program. Just like that, she was gone. For days, I wandered through my apartment like a ghost, going through the motions but feeling nothing. I canceled work, stopped returning messages, and barely ate. The world had kept spinning, but mine had stopped. I'd never known grief could be so heavy. 3 weeks later, I found myself sitting on the hardwood floor of her house, surrounded by the smell of old books and lemon cleaner. I couldn't decide what was harder, saying goodbye to her or saying goodbye to the space we built together. The furniture was the same, the coffee mug with the chip still on the counter, her cardigan draped over the arm of the couch, like she might come back to grab it. I didn't want to let go, but part of me knew I had to. It was what she would have wanted. That's when I came across the envelope. It was tucked inside a book, one of those massive historical novels she used to read before bed. My name was written across the front in her delicate handwriting. I sat there for a long moment, afraid to open it. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the note inside. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer. But I need you to do something brave. Go somewhere new. Start fresh. Don't let grief become your home. Life is still waiting for you. Love, Mom. I cried until the ink bled. Then I made a decision that surprised even me. Within a week, I packed up my life in Boise, sold the house, and bought a one-way ticket to Asheville, North Carolina. My mom had taken me there once when I was a teenager, and I remembered loving the art galleries, the mountains, and the warmth of the people. It felt like the kind of place you could heal without anyone rushing you. When I landed, the air was thick with summer humidity and the scent of honeysuckle. I rented a small apartment above a bakery downtown, the kind of place where you wake up to the smell of cinnamon rolls every morning. It was modest, just one bedroom and a creaky balcony, but it felt like a beginning. I started working part-time at a local bookstore called Blue Ridge Pages. It was cozy, filled with creaky wooden floors, vintage lamps, and a cat named Hemingway who slept on the register. The owner, a gray-haired woman named Lynn, hired me on the spot after I told her I used to read library inventory logs for fun. I didn't talk much at first. Grief clung to me like a second skin, and I wasn't sure how to shed it. But every morning I opened the shop, brewed the coffee, and stacked the books. And slowly, I began to feel something again. Then came Noah Jacobs. He walked in on a Saturday afternoon, tall, broad-shouldered, and looking slightly lost. He had a worn leather messenger bag slung across his chest, and a half-smile that seemed too soft for someone with eyes so heavy. I greeted him the way I did every customer, but something about him lingered in my mind. He came back the next day, and the next, always browsing the poetry section, always leaving with just one book. Finally, after a week of nods and half-smiles, he said, You ever read Rilke? I looked up from the counter. Only once, when I was trying to understand why the world feels both beautiful and unbearable. He smiled. Exactly. His visits became a routine. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we didn't. One rainy afternoon, I found him staring out the shop window, his fingers resting on a book of Mary Oliver poems. I lost someone, he said softly, without turning around. I didn't ask who. I just said, me too. And that was the beginning. We didn't fall in love overnight. It was slower, like a gentle unfolding. We'd sit on the back patio of the bookstore after hours, sharing stories over mugs of tea. He told me about his sister, who died in a hiking accident in Colorado. I told him about my mom, the way she used to leave me notes in my lunchbox, even when I was in high school. We were both learning how to live again. One afternoon, he invited me to a local art fair. I almost said no. Crowds still made me anxious, but something inside whispered, go. The fair was vibrant, full of color and laughter. I hadn't laughed in weeks, maybe months. But when he handed me a corn dog and made a joke about overpriced lemonade, I laughed so hard I almost dropped it. It felt good. It felt human. As the weeks turned into months, I began writing again. I hadn't touched a journal since my mom passed, but the words returned like an old friend. I started leaving notes for customers in their books, little quotes, tiny poems. People began asking for them. Lynn called them Emily's Pages of Light. Noah and I remained close, but neither of us rushed anything. There was healing in our friendship, and we respected each other's grief. He helped me rebuild the balcony garden outside my apartment. I helped him write a letter he'd been meaning to send to his parents. We were each other's quiet companions. Then came Christmas. I was alone that morning, sipping coffee on the couch, when I heard a knock at the door. It was Noah, holding a tiny potted fir tree and a wrapped box with a red bow. It's not much, he said, smiling, but I figured this year could still be something. Inside the box was a framed photo of the Blue Ridge Mountains at sunrise. On the back, he'd written, "New beginnings. Thanks for making mine easier." I hugged him before I could think about it, and for the first time since my mom's death, I felt warmth that wasn't just from a memory. The new year brought more changes. I started a grief journaling workshop at the bookstore every Thursday night. Strangers came, some crying, some angry, all of them searching. I watched as people opened up, found connection in their pain, and began to heal. It was powerful. It was honest. Noah joined us sometimes, always quiet but present. Eventually, he asked if I'd help him organize a community poetry night. We planned it for spring. The night of the event, the bookstore was glowing with string lights and soft music. The room was full of locals, from teenagers to retirees, all eager to share or just listen. Noah read a poem he wrote for his sister. I read one I'd written for my mom. After the last reader stepped down, Noah turned to me. You know, I think she'd be proud of you. I blinked back tears. I hope so. You made a home here, he added, for a lot of people. And maybe that was the point. Grief had ripped something from me, but in its place, it had left space. Space to grow, to rebuild, to love again. A year after I moved to Asheville, I stood on the same creaky balcony and looked out at a city that once felt foreign. Now, it felt like mine. There was a breeze that morning, and the scent of fresh bread drifted up from the bakery below. I held a new letter in my hand, this one written by me. Dear Mom, I miss you every day, but I'm okay now. You were right. Life was waiting. I found it,